Hello students, welcome back with the second PUC second chapter. And I hope you remember we are discussing about pre-fertilization events. And in today's session, we'll be talking in detail about pollination. In the previous video session, I have already given you an idea about what does pollination means and what are the types of pollination. I hope you remembered that pollination is of two types, that is self-pollination and cross-pollination. What is pollination, by the way? Pollination is the process of transforming the anther, the pollen grain from the anther to the stigma. It can happen within the same flower, that is called as self-pollination, or on the same plant of two different flowers. Or it may also can happen from one flower of one plant with the other flower of the same species plant. Okay, so that is called as cross-pollination. Now here at this point, before I start with today's class, can you tell me that what is preferred in nature? Is it self-pollination or is it cross-pollination? What exactly is happening in the nature? That is it mostly the self-pollinated flowers we see, or is it the cross-pollinated flowers we see? And don't you think the whole varieties of plants and the flowers, whatever we see, it is because of one specific pollination type? Can you guess it? Yes, it is cross-pollination. Self-pollination is a secure process where obviously there is a 100% chance of the flower getting pollinated. But in this self-pollination process, there is no variation that is seen, and the species may be vulnerable for the extinction. Why? Because there may be different factors which may hamper the species, right? That is why cross-pollination is always preferred. Though there are a lot of drawbacks in cross-pollination, but cross-pollination brings about variation. Let us know more about it. Nature always prefers cross-pollination over self-pollination. And pollen grains are not motile. We know that pollen grains doesn't have any special organ to move around. Now, how does this pollen grain will transfer from one flower to the other? They are not motile, they are not moving. So for that reason, they require some external agents. I told you in the previous session also, what are external agents? External agents are those things which help the pollen to transfer from one to the other plant. Those are called as external agent. Now, external agent can be biotic or abiotic. You remember that? What is biotic? Any living thing which is helping in the process of pollination are considered as biotic agent. What are abiotic agent? Those non-living things which are helping in the process of pollination, like wind, water, all this can be considered as abiotic agent. Okay, so this can be transferred by the external agent as the pollen grains are not motile. Depending on the agent involved, different type of pollinations are recognized. Now in detail, I'm going to tell you about different type of pollinating agent. All these detailed part may not be included in your board pattern or board question paper, but these all will be very important for your competitive exam questions. Okay, so that is why I have included all these points what may come in your competitive exam also. Right, let us see this. Now, we call this Animophily. What is the meaning of Animophily? Animophily means pollination by wind. When wind is an abiotic agent which is helping in the process of pollination, then that particular process is called as Animophily, and the flowers are called as Anemophilous flower. The process is Animophily and the flowers are called as Anemophilous flower. Okay, next is Hydrophily. What is Hydrophily? As the name says, hydro means water. So hydrophily means water pollinated plants. The abiotic agent like water, if it helps in the pollination, we call those plants as hydrophily. Anemophily. What is anemophily? Wind pollinating plants, and the flowers are called as anemophilous. Hydrophily, water pollinating plant, and the flowers are called as hydrophilous. Okay. Anthropophily, this is pollination taking place with the agency of humans. Agency of humans means by human basically. Okay, so anthropophily are those where human is helping in the process of pollination. We touch a flower and we touch the other flower, maybe to praise the beauty of the flower or because of some other reasons. So when human is helping in this process of pollination, then what it is called as? It is called as anthropophily. Okay, so we have learned three different type of pollinations over here. What are all the three different type of pollination? Let us find it out one more time. Animophily, that is pollination by wind. Next, hydrophily, that is pollination by water, and anthropophily, which is pollination by human. Okay, so these things you have to remember. Please make a short note somewhere, or put it in a tabular column like that, where you can write down the name of what type of pollination and the name of the agent. It will be very handy for you to practice like that. Okay, so that is why these are the examples which I am giving you in detail. Let us see the next one, what it is there for us, stored for us in the next part. Okay. Now, we have a whole variety of zoophily. What is zoophily now? Zoophily means when we talk about pollination by any type of animals except human. Because humans already we have learned, right? What is zoophily? Zoophily means pollination by animals. In that, the animals can be of different type. Animals can be an insect, animal can be a mammal, animal can be of different types. Bird also can help in the pollination. So for each pollinating agent, there is a particular name given. You have to remember these for your competitive exam. I am telling it again. Ornithophily. What is ornithophily? Pollination by birds. When birds helps in the process of pollination, we call it as ornithophily. Then come crypterophily. Crypterophily is the pollination by the bats. The mammal bat helps in the process of pollination, and that is called as crypterophily. Third one is malacophily. What is malacophily? Malacophily is pollination by snails. Does snails also can do pollination? Yes, snails also can help in the process of pollination, and that is called as malacophily. Next comes endemophily. What is endemophily? Endemophily means pollination by insects. Pollination by insect is called as endemophily. This is asked so many times. What is endemophily? Okay, I have seen in previous year question paper also. Next comes mimercophily. Mimercophily is the pollination by ants. See, so many animals are actually helping in the process of pollination. We only think of butterflies and honeybees. It is not only the butterflies and honeybees, but the pollination can take place by birds, by bats, by snails, by insects, as well as by the ants. Okay. So preferably you have to remember all these names. What exactly is hydrophily? What exactly is animophily? What is zoophily? And what are all these type of different pollinating agent, biotic pollinating agent. Remember this. These all are biotic factor, isn't it? These all are biotic factors because they all are living things, right? So in biotic factor, it can be any one of these living things which is helping the plant for the process of pollination. Clear to you? So this is very important part for your competitive point of view. I am telling it again and again. Only the Animophilous and the Hydrophilous, that is the wind pollinating and water pollinating plants, are important for your board point of view, but remaining all can be asked as, because all these are multiple choice questions in competitive exams, right? So in competitive exams, they can take any one of it and can ask you. So be ready for that. You should be well prepared for that. Okay. Here are some of the examples which I have tried to put it over here. This is ornithophily. You know what is the meaning of ornithophily? Ornithophily is pollination by birds. So the small, tiny hummingbird type of birds will be there. They will be helping in the pollination. They will go and suck the nectar from the flower, and they will go to the another flower for taking more nectar or grasp it. So while doing that, to take the nectar, because they're very tiny, very small birds. You have seen these birds. If you go to the nature and roam around for at least half an hour in a calm place, you will be seeing so many different type of birds, which is helping actually going from one flower to the other. Though those flowers may be wild flowers, they don't have any proper smell or scent, or they not be very good looking, but still you will be seeing these beautiful tiny birds which will be sitting on one flower to the other, and actually while collecting the nectar, they are helping the plant for the pollination. Then comes mimercophily. What is it? Mimercophily means pollination by ants. See, first of all, nectar is very sweet in taste, right? It is an high rich in protein content. All the insects love to suck the nectar from the flowers. And if you have seen that the nectars also will be sticky, that is the carbohydrate and the sugary content present on them makes the nectar sticky. So these ants also will be sitting on the flower, and it will be taking the nectar from them. It will go to the next flower, and by then the pollination process will be helpful for them. Endemophily is pollination by insects. You would have seen these honeybees and butterflies. They are abundant in nature and they will be sitting from one flower to another for the pollination purpose. Is it clear to you? So what we have learned: ornithophily, chiropterophily, malacophily, endemophily and myrmecophily. These are the names which is given for the zoophilies, different characteristics, different varieties. Okay, let us see the next one. It is interesting to note that roughly 2 lakh varieties of animal pollinators are present in the nature. This is the one of the very important, interesting statement what I wanted to share with you. Approximately 2 lakh varieties of animal pollinators are there. It is not only some few what we have just now discussed about 5 or 6, not that, more than 2 lakh different varieties of pollinators are present in the nature. Only about 10% of pollination takes place without the assistance of animals. That means 90% of the flowering plants are actually taking help of the different animals for the pollination purposes. What is the number? 90% of the whole flower category or the whole floral community, the plants, angiosperms, are taking the help of the animals for the pollination purpose. Isn't it amazing that it is all the living organisms, the biotic component which is helping the plant for the pollination purpose. Plant also is gifting the animal with the nectar, but still, you imagine 90% of the whole floral community is getting pollinated because of the animals. Imagine if you remove one of the animal from this whole ecosystem, what is going to happen? Because of that one particular small insect, maybe, let us think of any one typical insect which is helping in the pollination. If you just think that insect, we are going to remove it from the ecosystem, the whole plant community also may die, because there won't be any in pollinator only. There won't be any pollinator who will be helping in the pollination purpose. So isn't it amazing that how interdependent we are with the plant and the animals? I'm not talking about only humans. Imagine the animals, imagine the insects, imagine the whole big world where different varieties of organisms are there. So many organisms we don't know even if. Okay, now we'll start talking about, very importantly, 2 concepts, that is Animophily and Hydrophily, because these are the 2 concepts which is asked again and again in exams, and you may get it again, you may get this question appeared for your exam also, who knows. So let us start understand this properly. Animophily. Animophily is pollination by wind. I have told you already. Wind pollinating flowers are called as anemophilous flower. What are they called as? They are called as anemophilous. Anemophilous or philous. Okay, the process is called as anemophily, but it is called as anemophilous flower. Okay, those flowers are called as anemophilous flowers. So now you got it right. What is anemophily? Anemophily is the process, or the pollination process is called as anemophily. And what is anemophilous? Anemophilous are those flowers which get pollinated. Let us see the definition I have written here. See, flowers pollinated by wind are called as anemophilous flowers. That's all is the meaning of it. Some of the common features in such flowers are as below. Let us see what are those common features all about they're talking. Let us see. Now see what happens, when we talk about the flower which has to be pollinated by the wind, at that point of time you have to understand that wind means it should be very light, because the pollen grain should fly in the air. If it cannot fly, then obviously they cannot move. If the pollen grains are very heavy, then that will settle down. It will come down because of gravity. So wind pollinating flowers, the pollen grains must be very light in nature. That is the first point. They are generally small. The flowers are generally very small, inconspicuous, and not brightly colored. That means the flowers won't be very big enough, because they are not bothered to call the insects for the pollination, or they doesn't want it to produce nectar and honey for the birds or bats to take the nectar, but rather these flowers will be very small and sometimes negligible. You won't be knowing that there is a so tiny flower which is there.